Sonic is unlike any other franchise in the video game industry. There is no other franchise that can so consistently and repeatedly vomit up mediocre game after mediocre game for years and still maintain relevance and popularity the way Sonic does. The weird thing about Sonic is that every fifth game is really good, and then every other fifth game is utter trash. And then the 3 games in between those two are all sort of okay but forgettable. Every time you dig into the Sonic franchise's absolutely massive backlog of games, you're playing a weird version of Russian roulette. Either you're gonna have a really good time, you're gonna be bored, or you're gonna blow your freaking brains out. So it was with a sort of excited trepidation that I approached Sonic and the Secret Rings, the Nintendo Wii's first exclusive Sonic game released in North America on February 20th, 2007. It reviewed pretty poorly, but that's not a guarantee I wouldn't enjoy it. There are a lot of Wii games that the world didn't like, but that I really enjoyed. It's the whole reason I made this channel. I will admit that Sonic and the Secret Rings makes a terrible first impression. It starts off with this really long cutscene, where Sonic falls asleep with a copy of Arabian Nights on his face. And then this genie pops out of a ring nearby and tells him that the book's world is being erased, page by page, by an evil villain whose actual name is Eraser, and Sonic has to save it. Generally, the cutscenes in this game are way too long for how boring and uninteresting the story is. They mostly involve Sonic meeting one or another classic franchise character who is vaguely dressed up like a character from Arabian Nights. Eggman is a king, Tails is Alibaba, and Knuckles is Sinbad. Then there's this weird scene where Sonic jumps in front of a magical bullet to save the genie. And then the villain tells him that when the flame that has appeared on his chest goes out, he will die. But then Sonic just does not seem to care at all. He is literally on the verge of death for the entire game, and he could not care less. Anyway, after that first long cutscene, the game then traps you in a very long and very slow-paced tutorial. The way Sonic and the Secret Rings works is that Sonic is continuously moving forward, and the player moves him left and right to avoid obstacles, and jumps him up and down to do some light platforming. It's very basic, but the game feels the need to spend way too much time explaining it to you. But once you're out of the tutorial, the game picks up dramatically. In the first level, you're flying across this desert while ancient ruins are collapsing all around you. And the camera is doing all these crazy cinematic twists and turns, and the game is super duper fast and really cool. And then in the next level, you go to Dinosaur World. And I don't know what Dinosaur World has to do with the Arabian Nights theme, but I still love it because you're getting chased by packs of Triceratops. And then you're dodging this giant Tyrannosaurus Rex that's smashing boulders. And then you're running on this sauropod, and then you're blasting down these river rapids, and it's all really goofy and really crazy. Then you go to this ancient factory where you're dodging flumes of flame and running around ancient machinery. And then you go to this sky world where you're running around cities that are built on top of massive sky whales. And at one point you're running behind this monster that's leaving a trail of magic fairy dust in its wake while dodging rocket missiles that it fires at you. I mean, this is crazy. This is awesome. Then you go to Pirate Ship World. And once again, I have no clue what Arabian Nights has to do with European-style pirates, but I don't care because it's cool. You fly from one shipwreck to the next through this wild ocean storm that's battering the shipwrecks and the coast. And the whole time you're doing this, the game is playing this super cheesy, super fun rock music.
No such thing as fake photos with bees. Pass out of time instead of just living it. So many things that right before they begin. hopes on dreaming instead of what could have been. Fortune fades like words in sand. Just like that, it's nothing at all. Seems nothing at all, just seems. Fortune shines with 7 in hand. Back to fact, make real of all that seems. Real of all that seems. 7 rings in hand, beating nights with beaded sand. 7 rings in hand, wonders all under command. 7 rings in hand, while with just one single hand. 7 rings in hand, arrowed hearts catch fire now.
So this game is really super cool, and I actually really liked it, but I cannot beat it. I threw it down in frustration a third of the way through, because Sonic and the Secret Rings is too f***ing hard. A lot of the problem comes from the game's controls. In Sonic and the Secret Rings, Sonic controls like a dead giraffe on roller skates, flying down the side of Mount Everest. You move Sonic left and right by tilting the controller left and right like a steering wheel. And this should work really well. Mimicking a steering wheel is something the Wii's motion controls do best. Almost every driving game on the Wii controls really well, but for some reason, Sonic in this game is really slippery. He slides back and forth in a way that feels really floaty and imprecise. That's not helped by the way the camera is constantly flying all over the place. While it looks really cool and cinematic, the constant camera turns are disorienting and make it a lot harder to control the character with any degree of precision. Next, and this seems almost sacrilegious to say about a Sonic game, but he goes too freaking fast. Over and over again in this game, Sonic ran past a required enemy or obstacle before I had a chance to react. And then I would have to awkwardly tilt my controller backwards to get him to slowly walk back to where I needed him to be, which felt terrible every single time. The jump in this game feels really weird. When you hold down the jump button, Sonic starts braking and slowing down. Now sometimes he immediately just stops, and then other times while braking, he flies right past where you are going to jump. And then other times he stops way before you need him to jump. I could just never get the timing down. And finally, the homing attack is terrible. It's controlled entirely by shaking the controller, but it only works like 3/4 of the time. 1/4 of the time, I shook my controller and then got to watch Sonic just slowly fall into the abyss because the game didn't register my movement. In summary, the game's controls are slippery and imprecise. Now, this doesn't even matter in the big main levels. In the main levels, if you make a mistake, you just respawn at the last checkpoint and keep going. It's still fun. But to complete the game, you have to do these challenge levels. And these challenge levels are a piece of shit. In the challenge levels, if you make a single mistake, you have to start over. No matter how long the challenge takes, it will have no checkpoints. And any single little mistake, and you have to do everything over. There were challenges that I had to do a dozen or more times before finally getting lucky and beating it, after failing the same little bit over and over again. Because of how slippery the controls are, mistakes are guaranteed to happen. It's just not precise enough for the player to be able to be perfect. The level that finally broke me was in the pirate world. So I have to beat this wind spirit in a race. The first few tries I ran into some things. No big deal, it's trial and error, figure out the pattern and do better next time. But then I got to this jump and oh my god, I was losing my mind trying to get the timing right on this thing. You have to do one long jump onto the platform, a second jump once you're on the platform, and then from there perform a homing attack into a barrel and reach the other side. Getting Sonic onto that platform without him sliding straight into the water was a huge pain in the ass, and it took me like a million tries. And mind you, every single time I failed, I had to do the entire level over again. But finally, I get him there, and then I try to do a homing attack on the barrel, and the barrel disappears into the goddamn water. Okay, so that's annoying, but I can deal with it. I go through all the trouble to get to that point again, which takes a lot of tries. I wait for the barrel to come back up out of the water. I jump. I do the homing attack. I strike the barrel. I bask in my glory. I should be golden. All my hard work has paid off. Sonic falls right into the goddamn water. What the fuck? I still don't give up. I actually really like this game. I want to play more of it. I do it all over again. I reach the barrel again. I do the homing attack again. And Sonic falls right into the water again. Sonic and the Secret Rings. Why do you hate me? Why do you treat me this way? Don't you know that all I want to do is love you? But whatever. I give up. I don't care. This game. Oh yeah. Woo. Wee. Woo.